Do you dream of adding your very own book to the collection of books that have already been written? Do you wonder where to start or how to finish? Does the idea of writing a book seem too overwhelming? Do you just want to polish up those writing skills or stay motivated? Do you wonder what to write about? Everything you need to help you write, stay motivated, and self-publish your own book is right here on one channel. And why? Well, because it's time to get over the writer's hump and just do it. You can write anything. Yep, you can write a book. Hello and welcome to A Book. I am so glad that you are here today. Once again, I have a fabulous author for you to hear from. His name is Ronald Long. He goes by R.G. Long. You've probably read some of his books. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But we are going to get to talk to him today, and he's going to share with you all about some great books that he has written and some books that he is in the process of writing. And you're going to get to know this author really well. Ronald, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here today.
Hey, Laura, really appreciate you having me on. That's great.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. So, I was kind of doing some investigating on you, and I came upon your Facebook page. Actually, I think you shared your Facebook page with me, and I got to know just a kind of a micro chasm about you, but I would like to know a little bit more. So I'm wondering if you'd be willing to share with our audience a little bit of where you're from, kind of what you like to do, and what your writing day looks like.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, like I said, thanks for having me on. I
Oh,
am living in San Antonio, Texas. It's constantly hot here. It's just always hot. I think it is like 72 today, this
uh,
wonderful
nice.
February day that we have. It's great. I love that. I've lived in
Wonderful.
the South my whole life.
Oh,
I've lived
yeah?
in Alabama and Tennessee and then Texas. And so just always been a Southern boy. It's been great. I have three daughters. I love them so much. I enjoy writing. I can't write fast enough for my oldest daughter. She reads every word that's put in front of her, and she's very much
Wow.
like her dad in that she really loves fantasy novels. That's definitely where I came from. I just started reading fantasy books when I was a kid and have absolutely loved it. Every time I have gotten a hold of a book, it's just been great. But also, like,
Awesome.
I really enjoyed like other uh fantasy book adjacent things, like old school RPGs like Final Fantasy and old school like Warhammer tabletop games and stuff like that. Just all kinds of nerdy fantasy stuff.
Okay. Awesome. Wow. Well, you're mentioning being in San Antonio, and I was there at least once a week here this past year because my husband and I are truck drivers. And
Oh,
so I would
cool.
go through San Antonio, and I loved it because it was warm and no snow. I don't like to drive in snow. So I actually took the winter off. I doubt I'm going to be going back, but I had to take some time off, had some medical stuff to take care of and whatnot. But I do miss getting to drive down through there. I don't miss the traffic. Don't get me wrong. The traffic was horrendous, but
Oh, it's the
I
worst.
just miss the weather. The weather was fantastic.
Oh
Mm.
no, it always feels
So
great, but yeah, you're definitely stuck in traffic for a good part of the time.
forever, and it seemed like I was always going through a rush hour, right?
Yep.
So, question: when did you start writing? When did you write your first book?
I started writing in 2012. Uh, I, I shared with you earlier that I'm a youth pastor, and so have been
Yeah.
doing youth ministry and hanging out with students for forever. And I actually had one very ambitious student who said, "Hey, you like to write. Have you ever heard of NaNoWriMo?" And
NaNoWriMo.
yeah, National Novel Writers Month, right?
Okay.
It's November, and the challenge is write 50,000 words in 1 month. So that's what NaNoWriMo is. They host it every single year, and it's just a great opportunity for someone who's never written a book before to start writing with a community who is, or for someone who knows they need to write a book to kind of light a fire underneath them to be like, yeah, November, we're going to do this thing. Uh, that student challenged me to write a book, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll give that a try. I did. She did not.
Wow. Oh, isn't that how it goes, right?
It was great.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, what was the first book you wrote?
the first book I wrote is the first book of my series. It's Sword of Rune. That is the very first book that I started writing, and so that's what it is. I absolutely love the process from the moment I started.
Oh, that's great. So 2012. So
Mhm.
you've been doing this 12 years essentially, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How
I
fun.
Oh no, it's a blast. It's an absolute blast.
Yeah. Yeah. Writing can be just so fun. I mean, it just really is. There's just no other way to put it. It's fun. It's very rewarding, right?
Mhm.
I love when I've finished a project and I get to see that. I don't know. There's just something that feels so wonderful about that. So tell us a little bit about your series. What is it
Yeah.
about? I know these are fantasy books, but and they're take place in a whole nother world, a whole nother realm. Tell us about those.
Absolutely. So yeah, they're very Tolkien-esque in that the elves are tall and spindly and not called Fae. I can't get in. I can't get in with that. I'm like, that's weird. That feels strange to me. Whenever I hear of a fairy, I'm like, they've got like wings and tiny, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what they are, right?
yeah.
So my books are very Tolkien-esque, right? The elves are tall and a little proud, and the dwarves are stout and very Irish and very
Oh,
you know. And then there are humans wandering around as well, and goblins. My world has a couple neat, I'd like to call them like side villains, right? You have goblins that kind of take on that normal like minor character role, but then we also have I call them rents. They are fox creatures about the same size of goblins, but just look like foxes, right? So that's
okay,
neat. Um, and then there are Skrilks, which are similar to like Tabaxi in Skyrim, like cat people, right? So they're fun. They run around a
okay.
lot. Yeah. And it's just a really neat world. Coming from my background, like loving Final Fantasy, loving Warhammer, loving Tolkien, and even like Dragonlance and some other stuff like that. My world just kind of felt really at home being similar to those because that's what I know and that's what I love.
Okay, awesome. Where did you get the idea? I mean, other than obviously you loved fantasy, you liked reading it. Where did you get the idea for these characters, these specific characters?
So this is when it like we can understand that I've been wanting to tell stories for my entire life. Uh, my buddy and I in middle school got into a chat room that was a Dragonlance chat room. I
Oh
don't
boy.
know how many people in this audience remember chat rooms, but
I
like,
sure do.
oh boy,
Yeah.
it was a role-playing chat room where we were just
Mm,
goofing off, telling everybody we were like 4 or 5 years older than we actually were. We were like
of
13 at
course.
the
Of
time. We're
course.
like, oh, we're
Yeah,
totally 18.
yeah, yeah. I had to lie.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And we just got to goof around with some characters and we're just playing and goofing. And honestly, a lot of the characters in my first series came from who I thought I was talking to in that moment. I've never reconnected with any of these people except for my best friend in middle school who I still chat
Oh,
with. Um, and a lot of the characters kind of came from either people I was talking to in that original chat room, and then people who I would have imagined like would filled out that party of characters, right? And so those are my original characters, and that's kind of how I began thinking of this story when I was like 13 years old. I was like, wouldn't it be cool and that's those characters stayed with me until I was what 12 years ago, if 30-ish, right? And started
wow.
writing these books.
Gosh, that's pretty exciting. Okay, and so the very first book that you got published, what was that called?
Well, it's called Sword of Ruin, Run. It was originally called Wayward because I had to learn a lot of self-publishing do's and don'ts the hard way.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so share with us some of those trials and errors that you experienced so that maybe somebody else doesn't have to go through that.
You should hire an editor, or
Yeah.
at least have a very good friend work with you. I I I feel bad sharing this, but I've killed two editors. Um,
Mm.
I've had two editors pass away while working
Oh no.
with me. And so truly the first editor I ever hired off of Fiverr worked with me on the first book, did a fantastic job, reached out to them on the second book and like didn't hear back for like months. And then
No.
their spouse emailed me and said, "I'm so sorry to let you know, but my my spouse was your editor and they have unfortunately passed." I'm like, "Oh no."
Oh my goodness.
So,
Wow.
um, that was an experience, one that I had to learn that like there are people in this business who go through the same type of trials and struggles that we do and are
Yes.
just
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
living their everyday lives.
Wow.
Um,
Gosh.
but hiring an editor is definitely something you should do. I wish you better luck than I had.
Oh
I
man.
do not wish for any of
I
your
I
editors.
can't I can't agree with you more on that. So I think having a second set of eyes on your work is a must. It is a
And if you
must.
can, and
Yeah.
if you can't afford an editor, you can probably find a friend to beta read for you for either free or perhaps a cup of coffee once in a while. And that will be a longer process, of course, but it's way better than just you rereading your stuff and hoping you can find it all because
You,
you won't.
you won't. No, you absolutely won't. And you go blind.
Oh, for sure.
I'll give you my really good friend happens to, she's an author, but she's also an editor. And so she's the one who edits my books. I'm really fortunate and blessed that I don't have to pay her.
Oh, wow.
Um, but we sort of do that for each other. We help each
Yeah.
other. We look over each other's work, and she's has a much better command of the English language than I do. So
Hmm.
she
Hmm.
fixes a lot of my mistakes that I make, and I've learned from her too. I think
Yeah.
when you've had your work edited enough times and you see, oh, I have a tendency to make this same mistake. For me, it's putting commas in the wrong place, or
What?
run-on sentences and things like that. So when you made enough of those mistakes and had them corrected, you learn from them. So I think you become a better writer by having somebody
Absolutely.
else take a look at it. What do you think?
Absolutely. Oh no, absolutely. One of my favorite tricks, like you said, when you are reading your books, you become blind to it. One of my
Oh,
favorite tricks
for
is to
sure.
actually have a robot read it back to me,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Because, there's Microsoft editing, there's Grammarly, there's, hey, Chat GTP, can you try to edit this? It's not going to catch everything.
no,
But if you can have something else read those words back to you, there's a little trigger that goes, wait, that
that
didn't sound
didn't sound
right.
right.
And you
Yes.
can, and so, bare minimum doing that will help catch some errors of yours because it's a slightly unfamiliar just coming from someone else's voice. It helps.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so what I do, this is kind of my own personal trick, is I will read my book out loud
Hmm.
into some kind of a recording, program or
Oh,
something,
sure.
just to
Yeah.
hear it back. And it's often through that I go, that didn't sound right, or it's awkward,
Yeah.
and I'll make some
Just the
changes
process of
based on
that.
that. But
Uh,
it's a lengthy process, but I think it's really worth it. So what I'm hearing and then is maybe in your first book you had some of those mistakes that
Yeah.
let me ask you a question. This is me, and I have heard many other people say the same thing, but my first book, I'm embarrassed to share with people because it wasn't great. It was terrible. It was a terrible book, but I did it.
Hmm.
I wrote it, I got it out there, I did it. And once I went through that process, like, you know what? I think I could do this some more.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about your first book looking back? Because you've written how many now? 30? I don't know. You're working on what,
Um,
another series of 15, you told me?
Another series of 15 and another series of 6, and then
Wow.
some odd-on books after that. The number's 42 right now.
Okay, so quite a
So,
few. Yeah.
yeah, looking back on the first book, I've definitely grown as a
Yeah.
writer.
Yeah.
But you see that in other people's literature as well, right? So
Of
even
course.
even the big names that are out there, right?
Yes.
If you read
Yes.
Brandon Sanderson's first novels, they're different than the Twilight
Mm-hmm.
Stormlight Archive. They're different than Stormlight Archive because
Oh,
he's grown as a person, right? Just like we do. So there's a part of me that's kind of like, I'm kind of glad my first book is still out there and the one I lead with, because like, if you can read through that, we're going to get along just fine.
yeah. Yeah. That's, that's really how I feel about, okay, so I know that I said one of the most important things that I agree with you on is get an editor, get another
Mhm,
pair of eyes, and actually more than one. I had three different people that I sent my book to read for me and give me
mhm.
feedback. One of them was my neighbor who happens to be an English professor, so I was really lucky there,
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so I have all these people looking at it, but you know what? I completely forgot where I was going. I completely forgot what I was talking about. I
No,
said,
but
I knew it
you're
was
absolutely
important
right.
to
Getting more than one pair of eyes is huge. Even after you pay that editor, I even remember there's an old anecdote that like this Dune, right? A giant published, multi-million dollar backed project had an error on the first page. The name of the planet was spelled wrong in a certain run of the series.
Okay,
And so
so that's kind of where I was going. We live in a day and age where people are LOLing, they're BRBing, and all of these other acronyms, they're making typos all day long as they're texting one another. And somehow we're still able to communicate with one another. We get
yeah.
through all of those mistakes. Our brain has a way of processing it. Certainly you don't want to pay money for a book and then have to be sifting through a bunch of errors. But
Hmm.
if I think some people are afraid to get things published because it's not perfect. What if there's a mistake? What if there's this some weird error in there that is going to cause somebody to hate their book, right? And so they get stuck and they don't ever write. they don't
Hmm.
they don't finish what they write, or they don't get it published, or they hang on to it out of fear. They're so afraid that if it's not perfect, it's going to be rejected.
Oh
And
yeah.
so what I've done, and maybe it's my way of protecting myself from that rejection, I don't know, but the first several books that I wrote, probably the first 5 books that I wrote, I put a little caveat at the beginning. Look, I'm not the world's best writer. I know that. You might find some mistakes in this book, but if you're
Mhm.
able to get through everyday life reading garbage emails and bad
Ah,
text messages, you'll be able to get through this book. So just,
oh,
be
funny.
patient with me. And and then as I got better, I didn't feel the need to have to do that. And it was actually my editor friend who said, you don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh, that's
yeah,
really great. But you're absolutely right. And for anyone who's like considering writing and might be listening to the show, remember that the industry standard includes margin for error,
correct.
right? It's something like a typo for per 10,000 words or something like that. And so like the industry standard isn't perfection. The
No.
industry standard is, yeah, we're gonna assume that in a certain amount of words, there's going to be some typos. Something's gonna get wrong.
And another thing too is your story doesn't have to be perfect. It's your story. You
Right.
made it up,
100%.
you
Yeah.
know. And I mean, unless there's some really big glaring thing, like you referred to your world and gave it a totally different name in the next series or something like that,
Yeah.
something real glaring. Most people, they don't care. They're they're
No,
not they're not as interested in your mistakes as you think they are.
well,
You
and
know,
the best readers will be the ones who point out an error to you and say, "Hey,
correct.
you can fix this."
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
all right. Pause for a second, Laura. Hey, Ruthie. Other girls are home. Very cool. I love that. You okay? Yeah, I'll go tell them. If they need to come up and like say hey for a second, that's fine. Other,
That is
I,
so wonderful. Do your girls help you write?
uh, they don't help me write. My oldest is my biggest critic for sure. Like
So she gives you ideas.
when she finished my first series, she was like, Dad, why did this character not make it? Why did you end it that way, Dad? You're like, what's going on over here? Why did this happen or this? And so I love that I get to share that with her. But like I
Yeah.
said, I even writing the books that I've written, I can't keep up with her. She like just zooms through every single book.
She
It's
devours them.
wonderful.
I have one of my grandsons. He's 11, and
Yeah.
that kid reads. I mean, that's all he does. He just reads.
Just
He
reads all
reads
the
and
time.
reads and
Yep.
reads. And so I'm actually writing a book that I started with him in mind, because at his age, it's really hard to find appropriate things
Hmm.
room to read. So I started this book, and my other grandkids were here a couple weeks ago visiting, and I read what I've written so far, and boy, they loved it, and they were giving me
Oh,
all sorts of ideas. Well, why don't you go this way, or maybe the character should do this, so
I
it
love
was
that.
fun. It was great. I love it. Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
all of my grandkids read. I have 9 grandkids, and they're all pretty avid readers. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
No, I love telling stories with my kids. We play Dungeons and
Mm.
Dragons. And so like
Oh, it's a
I'll
continuous story.
yeah, I'll DM and they are part of the story and it makes it so fun. It brings it to life in a way that like it's really cool to experience. I enjoy it.
That's great. What is your
Yeah.
writing process? What does your day look like when it comes to writing?
Sure. So what I have discovered is that I can type quickly, but I don't know if that's necessarily either my best or sitting down in front of the computer is something that is actually kind of soul sucking for me. And so, like,
Mm,
what I have learned just through a process of like that first book, man, I typed almost every word of it. As the series grew on, I discovered that you can dictate into your phone words. And so I started
yes.
dictating into my phone to like just get that first draft out of the way, right? To just put words on the page.
I
And
wanted
then
to talk to you about that. I'm going to
bring it on.
pause right
Yeah, bring it
there
on.
and talk to you about that. So, um, my husband actually is writing also, but it's a very laborious process for him because he struggles with typing and spelling, and he's real slow at it. And I
Yep.
don't have time. I do not have time to dictate his books and write mine, and all of that stuff. So I was curious. I want to share your Facebook page because you had actually put a video out there that really intrigued me. Give me just a second here.
Oh, sure.
Make sure. Oh, actually, we are on. Let's start here. We're on your Amazon
Yo.
site. So yeah, I haven't switched over to your Facebook page yet. We'll pause and we'll talk about this real quick. This is Legends of Gilead. This is so you said there are 15 books in the series. How
And
many?
this bundle is the first nine. Yes.
This is the first 9, and so then the rest come in a different bundle. Okay.
The
And
rest follow it. You'll actually see book 10 right there underneath it. Right?
okay.
Yeah.
So this is, oh, I see 10 of 15. There we
Yeah.
go. All right. So if people go to Amazon, I mean, goodness gracious, isn't that where every book is sold these days? Go to
Mhm.
Amazon. Looks like it's on Kindle, and I know you have some other ones as well. Here we go.
Oh,
One of
yeah.
15.
That's the first one right there. Yep.
This was the first one.
It
Uh,
is.
okay, Sword of Ruin. Is that Ruin?
Rune. Sure. Whatever.
Rune? Okay. All right. Love your
I
cover. Did you
thank
design your
you.
own covers, or did you have
Oh,
somebody do it for you?
no. I write the words. I let the artist do the art.
Yeah, they're
I
gorgeous.
oh, thank you so much. Covers by Christian. Shout out. Great guy, fantastic
Yeah,
artist, fantastic guy to work with. Yeah, covers by Christian. He does a
covers by
phenomenal.
Christian. All right. Is he pretty affordable?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yes,
He's
and you know
not
what?
Tom Edwards. How about that?
This is really good work. I'm really impressed with that. So, all right. So, if you get on Amazon, you can go
Yep.
ahead and check all of these out. Just search in RG Long. That's all I had to do, and dozens of these books came up.
There you
So yeah,
go.
you've got quite a bit out there,
The
and
algorithms are working. That's all you need.
yeah, some pretty good. Got some 5-star reviews on some of these, so you got some pretty good writing going on. I'm pretty
Thank you.
impressed
Yeah,
here.
what's been really fun to look at is that first book gets reviewed. Yeah, go to Sword of Ruin.
Yeah, let's
It's
go up
sitting
there.
right at four
Okay.
stars, right? So
Yeah,
500, 500 4 stars, and we got the ones and the twos. We got
of
look,
course,
you
everybody
can't have
does.
perfection. Just scroll up back up to sort of to the whole the 9 books, right? At the nine
Look at that.
books, all right, so 4.5, right? It's a lot. Hey, I'm proud of that, right? So that makes me happy to know that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
What you know
over.
what? And that's the trick. You're getting the reviews.
Yeah.
I don't get reviews on my book, but I don't work that hard to get them either. I don't. A lot of my books I sell at like conferences and things like that because they're
Oh yeah.
nonfiction. But so you're getting the reviews. And that's what's important. It's just the fact
Mhm.
that people are actually tapping in and kind of, giving you some feedback on all of that. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. All
Greatly
right.
appreciate
Well, I want to get back over to your Facebook page, which we originally started on. I know we're all over the place.
That's all great.
And talk a little bit about how you are dictating.
Hmm.
Are we screen sharing yet? No, not yet. Let's go ahead and screen share that. All right. So this is your RG Long, your author's
Uh,
Facebook page. And you know what? Everybody goes to Facebook. Everybody
sure.
does. So listen, you guys, get on here because he has some wonderful information. I look at authors' pages all the time, especially when I'm getting ready to interview somebody. And I have to tell you, I love what you have done with these shorts, that you've put
Oh, thank you.
information out there that is, okay, I don't have another way of saying this, but there are so many authors out there that I feel like are pretty kind of narcissistic in their approach to marketing their books. And that is buy, 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 buy. Please buy my book. Please buy my book. It's all about me. But you
Yeah.
didn't do that. You're giving information out to people who might want to write, and you're telling them, hey, look, this is how I did it. And I was
Mhm.
so impressed with that I can't recommend other people going over to your page enough,
Well, thank you.
because it was just such a generous thing that you've done here. And I'm blown away by it. I actually learned something. I want to share this video. Let's see which one. I think it was,
VH book.
well, which video did you do? I know I watched it. No, it was up higher, where you talked about, maybe it was this one. No. Anyway, you talked about dictating your
Hmm.
books, and that's
Hmm.
where we were going with the conversation before I went over to Amazon.
Yeah.
And I don't think was it this one here.
So go down.
This
I think one more. I think
one
I talked
more.
about, oh, two more. I think I was
One
at the
more.
kitchen. Nah, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Okay.
Oh no. Okay. I thought it was one where I was at the kitchen table talking about being a responsible pet owner and dictating my book while walking in the park.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
No.
yeah, you
And
did. I watched that one as well. But anyway, it doesn't matter. People can go over there. They're shorts. They're all short videos, so it won't take
oh yeah.
anybody long to kind of go through it. Here, this is it. I
Ooh,
think this
that
is
one.
your process right here that you talked about, speaking the chapter.
Sure.
I'm
Let's see.
going to I'm going to try something that I haven't done on this show before. So hey, you guys, you're all guinea pigs. You're going to be a guinea pig, and so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try to play this video if that's okay with you.
Of course. Yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah, let's see if we even get sound on it through here.
Yeah. I might have to click it. That's my guess. I don't know.
All right. All right, now let's see if I can turn this off. Let's go ahead and stop this sharing. Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So take us through that process a little bit.
Sure. So dictation is fine. And if somebody doesn't have a budget for writing a book, then talking your words into a phone or a computer or something like that is perfectly acceptable. Get you words on the page. What I found was I had an author friend of mine share their process with me of they would go for a walk for an hour and dictate into a recording device, then come back, upload that, get the file from that onto their computer, and then send it off to a transcriptionist. And that's how they would write their books. And so that was fascinating to me. So I went on Fiverr to see if I could find a transcriptionist who would work with me in chunks. And I found a wonderful transcriptionist who has been working with me for the last I think 6 books that I've been writing
Oh my, wow.
eh,
Okay, so now what do you record into? You record where?
right into the
On
phone.
your phone
Yeah,
to what program do you use?
I use
Is there an
just the
app?
I use the plain old Apple Memos recording. So like if you go to your phone, there is the app called Voice Memos.
Voice
Uh,
memo. Okay.
Voice Memos right here, and you'll even see like I'm working on my next book right here, so that's there too. Uh, I record into this, just talking into my phone typically, or sometimes I'll be wearing my AirPods, or headphones would work just fine. And my process is when I start, I try to, just like the principle of, put your butt in chair and don't stop writing until you've
Yeah.
written for 30. I I will I'll say, like, I'll say hey to my transcriptionist, wish them a wonderful day, and talk for 30 minutes.
Okay.
And then at the end, I'll say, okay, that's it. And typically for me, one chapter is about 15 minutes worth. So when I go into transcription mode or dictation mode, I'll know that, all right, I need 2 chapters in my brain, that I have maybe a sentence or two that I've looked at. I know what I'm going to be writing, and then I just talk on it and get it out and spend about 15 minutes writing, dictating one chapter, and 15 minutes dictating the next. And then what's really cool is the Memos app, it's connected. And so it connects me to Google Drive. So I just upload it onto Google Drive into a specific folder that I've shared with my transcriptionist. And after, a day or two, depending on their work schedule, they email me back the typically 2 to 3,000 words that I have set into my phone.
Wow. Okay. So that makes it a much faster process, I would think, for you to actually get a book done. So how long does it take you to write a full book doing it that
Typically,
way?
typically a month,
About a month? Okay.
which is about 15 days of writing. There, I don't know why. It's weird. I was never great at math. Like numbers, math, that was not my forte. When it comes to books and writing, the math makes sense to me, right? And so my books right now are typically in the realm of 65,000 words. That's what I try to aim for.
Okay.
So that's going to be about 26 audios, which
Okay.
is 15 days of writing, right? And so I told myself I'm not going to write on the weekends. I'm going to give myself that break. And so during the weekdays, I try to record two 30-minute audios, typically one in the morning, one in the afternoon.
How
And
many chapters are your books typically? About
52,
40, 52, give or take? Okay.
just yeah, give or take a couple, depending on how, if there's a quick little side character I want something else, or if that ending needs like, ooh, I want to like set up the next book when this with this cool little thing, something like that.
And then when you get your transcription back, when it's been
Yeah.
transcribed, do you also send that to an editor?
Yeah, that's so as they send it back to me, I'll look over it, make sure it makes sense, and be like, okay, yeah, this is what I wanted to say. And obviously it's a human being typing my words, so there's going to be, a mistake here or
Sure.
there.
Yeah.
And so I will look over that. And once the whole thing is complete, I'll send the completed book onto my editor.
Oh,
And after a while, they'll get it back to me.
wow. Wow. So that makes the process pretty fast then.
Uh, it it does, and I really enjoy it. It has made writing really fun. I like sitting down and typing, like that's fun for me. And I maybe because of my chat room experience, like I'm a fairly fast typer.
Yeah, I am too. I can type
But
as fast as I can think, but
yeah,
I'm
I
like
like
you.
to
It's
talk.
something about being chained to that desk that I really I have other things I want to do.
Well,
So
and I've also
I'm
found that,
intrigued by your process.
thank you. I found that I'm also more creative when I'm moving. All right, so just like the act of, there is a wonderful park um less than a quarter mile out my front door. And so I actually go and I will walk that park.
Oh,
It's
fun.
funny enough, 2 laps is right about 30 minutes. And so I know like,
You're
okay,
getting
this
your
is
exercise in, right? You're doing all
yes,
kinds of healthy stuff and you're using your brain. You're being
here we
productive
go.
while you're exercising. I love it. I love it.
And there's something about being in nature too that's just really like healing. I really enjoy it. And
Yeah.
so then I can just like put myself into my mind of my characters. Are you guys walking through a field? I'm walking through a field. This is great. And so it works out really well.
That's pretty cool. I love it. I really do. I love it. And of course, you have the nice warm weather that you get to go do that every day.
I do.
It snows here. We just came out of a deep freeze, so I don't get to do
Well,
that. But
well,
yeah,
here's my trick. Uh, if you go to your local mall, more than likely they'll open up at pretty early for those seniors to
they
walk around in it.
they do, but I refuse. I go to the gym. I do go to the gym. That's great.
Hey,
Okay, I want to go back. I want to share again your Facebook page, and let's see if we can get out of here.
yeah,
Ah, I got to get this to stop.
there
There
you
we go.
go.
Okay, so let's talk about your books. You've written so many, but
Mhm.
I'm wondering, do you have a favorite? Was there one that you wrote that was just really you just love that one?
Oh, it's tough because there are really two that I would say are my favorite. Um, and I like my first one. I really enjoy it. I really love the first of the book that comes after my big series, right? So it's called Crystals of Redact. It's at number 10 because there's a main character that gets a uh gets a big reveal, right? There's something that we've been working at for those whole 9 books, and then like the payoff finally happens for them. And Crystals of Redact, it's a really great book. Um, and I enjoyed that trilogy that I wrote for that 10, 11, and 12. Those are really fun, and 10 starts it off. But I think my favorite book is 13 because I held a secret back for my readers for
Oh,
13 books, and I finally let it out. And I hope, I don't know if I'm actually that good. I hope by the point that they get there, they're like, oh, I didn't realize. And
oh,
hopefully it's a
that's
big
so
reveal.
fun. I love it. Yeah, yeah. I like so my friend, my editor friend that I was telling you about, she just wrote, well, she's in the process of writing a book and kind of we help each other. We challenge each other, we give each other ideas, we read each other's work. It's really a lot of fun. We enjoy it. And so when I was helping her put this together, there's like this little thing that would be, I don't want to give it away, but it would be revealed at the end of the book. And I was
Ooh,
so excited over that. I was like, oh, everybody's going to be in shock when they get to this, you know? So
oh,
yeah, I kind of like those things and
oh,
they're
so
fun.
great.
Yeah,
Pause for
cool.
just a second. Hey, Penny, I did text for Stumpy's mom. She said she would need to come home at 5:30, okay? Cool. My my fourth daughter
Nice.
is here. Penny's my second daughter has a really good friend who comes over just about every school day.
Oh, yeah, and
And
they become like yours and you care about them and all that stuff. Yeah,
oh yeah, I take her to
that's
school in
pretty
the
cool.
morning. It's great.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. You're a pretty involved dad. That's wonderful.
I love it. I love it so much. Being a dad
Nice.
is my favorite thing.
Oh, you're blessed, really
I am.
blessed and fortunate. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about. I want people to know this is always the goal of this channel that they can write, and I love that
Yeah,
you had said that at the end of one of your videos. I think you had said keep writing or keep on writing or
absolutely.
something like that,
Yeah.
and I love that it shows that you want to encourage other people to write just like you're writing, and I think it's wonderful. Advice, tips, what would you tell somebody who's like, oh, I want to be a writer too, but I don't know what to do, I don't know where to start? What would you tell them?
Well, my first bit of my first tip would be if they are writing a book and or even just reading a book and they really enjoy that particular author, reach out, like send them an email and say, "Wow, I really like your books. You are great. Do you have any tips that you might be willing to share with me?" More than likely, an author might be willing to be like, "Hey, yeah, just keep writing," or they might say, "Oh, actually, hey, I've been learning this." I had an author who uh, one of their Facebook ads got me.
Oh,
It looked great. The book looked really interesting. It was a fantasy book, and I fell in love with it. It's like this is awesome, and I emailed them and said, "Hey, just read this book. It was really, really good. I so appreciate it. he followed back with, "Thanks so much. Here's book 2 for free. Go ahead and just leave a review for me. I'd
Oh my
really appreciate it."
goodness.
That author, through a series of communications, actually invited me into a private Facebook group with them and 10 other authors, all of whom were punching way higher than I was, and I'm just
Wow.
a newbie. And, and they said, "Hey, yeah, you." I told them I'm trying to write a book. I'm really excited about it. It's been fun, and they just took me under their wing, and it was incredibly generous of them. Uh, and that's something that a couple authors would probably be willing to do. Now, there are authors, you had said it earlier, who don't want to be bothered. And that's fine, because not everybody is a raging extrovert like I am. But the, my advice to somebody who is starting out writing, if you find an author who you love, and especially if they're an indie author, maybe they're not, traditionally published, or maybe they are, send them an email, ask for a tip or two. You
I think that's
have no idea
wonderful.
what they might say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
the
then
th
you're also building that community for yourself. I think writing can be a lonely process,
oh, 100%.
right? And
Absolutely.
so when I first started out, I had nobody I didn't know what I was doing. I wrote
Hmm.
my first book because I had a business manager who said, "You're going to get more speaking engagements if you write a book, write a book."
Yes.
And I said,
Yes.
"Okay, I don't even know what to write about," but I did. And, but I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to get it published.
Nope.
I knew nothing. And I was scouring YouTube to figure out how to get my book on Amazon, right? And where do I go I thought I had to print it myself. Like I really knew nothing. I
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
know
yeah, yeah.
anything. And yeah, I didn't know about Kindle. I knew nothing. So it was lonely. I didn't
Hmm.
know who to ask. I didn't know what questions to ask. I didn't know what I was doing. And along the way, I slowly started to get into community and I started joining Facebook groups. I started
Yeah.
connecting with people. Um, yeah, it's wonderful because
Hmm.
you're only one person, and you can't know everything. That's what I say. It's no one person knows everything. And so
Of
we
course
are
not.
all a collection of what we've learned from other people, right? That's kind of what
Yeah.
makes us who we are is and shapes us. And so my advice to people is always to reach out. And I love the idea that you said reach out, especially to those indie authors, because people like you and I who self publish, we don't always get feedback. Like, we don't know. Do people like my work? Do they not? I mean, you have the Amazon reviews to show you, right? But it's
Look at
always
that number
fun.
that is a that
It's
is
just
saying
a
good work.
number. It's not a person, right? And I love it when people they'll message me and say, "Hey, I just read your book and wow, this is what I learned or this is what I got from your book and thank you so much." I wrote a book. Actually, I'm going to share this real quick here. I'm just kind
Yeah,
of going to put a plug in for myself here. Let's see if
you
I can
should.
even find it.
This
I don't
is
even know
your
if it's
fault.
on my desk.
This
Yeah.
is your turn.
So during COVID, I wrote a book called A Journey Through PCSD. I think I've
Post-COVID.
only sold maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 of those.
Yeah.
I wrote it because I got COVID very bad. And
Oh.
I was really, really, really sick with it. And I had long-term COVID and still kind of have some issues from it. And so it
Oh.
was kind of traumatic for me, what my experience was. And so I have a background in psychology. And so I wrote this book for anybody else that might be experiencing or going through some post-traumatic stress as a result of COVID.
Yeah.
And it was more just a kind of a healing process for me, honestly. But I wrote it, and it was probably 3 or 4 months later. I don't remember exactly how long, but I ran into a woman who was, I mean, she was on death's door with COVID. She was
Oh.
really struggling. They were
Mm.
putting her into a research program because she just was not getting better. And I
Mm.
gave her a copy of the book.
Yeah.
And she reached out to me, and told me how much she related and how much it helped her. And there were
Oh.
some things that she was dealing with that this really helped her with. And you know what? I don't think I sold another copy after that, but it meant a lot to me that she reached out to me and said, "Hey, this is how the book touched me, or this is what I
Yeah.
enjoyed from it." It's a good feeling for any author. So I'm with you on that 100%. Reach out to somebody because not only are you going to learn from them, but you have an opportunity to make somebody else's day bright. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's fun. It's fun. It
It
is.
is.
So
It totally is. And so, yeah, if you're if you're writing and feel discouraged or feel like you're not the best writer or feel like somebody else is a better writer than you, know that every author on the planet has felt like that at some point.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I don't claim to be the best writer out there. I'm not. I'm not the most prolific writer, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It's okay. I think everybody has a story to tell,
Mhm.
whether it's fiction or nonfiction. We all have something to say, and I think that we live in a beautiful time where we don't have to have permission to write. Long gone are the days. I say this over and over. You no longer have to write out a manuscript, type out a manuscript, and send it off to a dozen publishing companies or more, and hope that they accept you, that you don't get
Right.
rejected.
Or that they
Anybody
even
can
read it
write
at
a book,
all.
or that they even read it. Right? I mean, they may not. It's sitting in the back pile somewhere if it even gets
Yeah.
that far. So yeah, absolutely. And so I think that I just want to encourage people, just do it. Just go ahead and write. And you said something. You said every writer feels like other authors are better than them. Guess what? They are.
Yeah.
There will
Oh, for
always
sure.
be somebody better than you, but that doesn't mean that you're the worst. And it
No.
doesn't make you bad, right?
Mm-mm.
So yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. No, if I, you just, there's a dogged stubbornness that has to come with writing of just, I'm going to
Absolutely.
put words on the page, be they good or bad. And guess what? If they're bad, fine, I'll edit them later.
Just get it out. Get it
Yeah.
out.
Put it on the
Mhm.
page.
Yeah. Is it,
I
and that's kind of your process then. So you just get it out and then you go back and you look at it, clean it up where it needs cleaned up and things like that.
absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely, because the worst thing is a blank page. I even have an author, a friend of mine, who started a book with, this book is going to have a really great first sentence, but this isn't it. And he kept writing after that.
That's cool. I like that. I
He was
love
like,
it.
there's
That's
going to
just
be some really
that's a
catchy
hook
thing to
right there.
start it.
That would make me want to read the rest of the book.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
It's just kept on going.
Where do you come up with the titles for your book? And how important do you think titles are?
Uh, I just I ascribe to everybody judges books by their covers, right? And I had again more author friends who, when my books was called Wayward, and I had some artsy thing on there, I had a author come alongside me and say, I want you to know two things. First, when I look at your book, I think middle grade, and I don't think that's what you're writing. I was like, oh no, that's exactly what, yeah, this is not an elementary school book or a middle school book. I'm writing fantasy for adults. And he goes, okay, good, change your cover. Second, uh, wayward means nothing, right? And like it doesn't convey anything. Like Brandon Sanderson can get away with calling his books, whatever he wants because he's Brandon Sanderson. I'm a fantasy author. When I want someone to look at my book for like half a second because they will as they scroll Amazon, I want them to lock on and go, fantasy book I like. So that's why my both of my first in series have a sword on them
There you
and
go.
blade or sword in the title, just so someone will go, oh, okay, this is fantasy stuff.
Okay. Okay.
So,
So title, I agree. Covers are important.
yeah,
Titles are important.
yeah.
But where do you come up with your titles?
Well,
I mean,
for
what do you what do you do? Do you choose words that are in the book and put them on
yeah,
your cover, or how do you do
for
that?
me, the naming structure of my first series was more on world building than anything else. I decided, okay, I want to write a giant world. Oh, let me throw out a number, 5. Okay, there will be 5 continents on my world. I
Oh
really
boy.
want to explore those continents. I bet every continent needs 3 books. Okay, great. So each book is going to have continents on it. Hi, beautiful. Yes, ma'am, you may. And so every book is going to have 3, every continent's going to have 3 books to explain it. So that's why 1, 2, 3 are sword, magic, and dragon of Ruin, because they all happen on the continent of Ruin. And
Okay.
then 4, 5, 6 is elves, clans, and wars of Iradan, because they happen on the continent of Iradan. And
Makes
so
sense.
that's how that works out. And so for me, the whole series is one large arc, right? There's a inciting incident that ends with the climax at the end. But there are also small arcs in my trilogy, so that if someone was reading it, they would probably get to the end of book 3 or 6 or 9 or 12 and be like, oh, okay, yeah, we've wrapped up that part, and now we are going on to the next adventure, right?
Okay, so you're keeping this really clean for your readers too. I mean, you're making it simple for them so they can keep track.
Trying to be, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
for sure.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's kind of ingenious, actually. I like that. I like that. So I'm real big on titles. I believe that titles are, of course, I write a lot of nonfiction. So
Mhm.
titles, I think, are a lot more important than the visual when you're talking
Yeah.
about nonfiction. So yeah,
Mm.
so that's pretty interesting. I like how you did that.
Well, thank you.
Any other tips that you would leave with someone?
Oh my goodness. I just echoing back on something you had said, if you are scared of writing because, oh no, what if they don't like it? What if somebody is going to judge my book? My challenge to you would be to just write scared. Do it,
Right,
right?
scared. I love
It
that. That should be a t-shirt or a meme or
that
something. Right, scared. I like that. I
well,
do.
and
I
that's
like that a lot.
that's a that's something that I tell my girls, whom I love. There's sometimes they're like, Dad, I'm scared to do this thing. It's like, okay, let's do it scared.
Do it
Like,
anyway. Yep.
let's not
Be
let
scared and
fear
do
be the
it.
thing that stops us from doing something. Like I really wanted to write a book. I really wanted to see it on my shelf. I keep looking over there because my little vanity shelf is right that direction.
That's yeah.
And so I now see these books that I've written, and I am really proud of that. And I wouldn't have written them if I was worried about what people thought of them, or I would have stopped if I had let that first bad review that said this guy needs an editor like crush me and stop me from writing, and just instead go, there's probably some truth to that. I should go look for an
Maybe I
editor.
should get an editor. Yeah.
And then I kept writing, right? And so my
Hmm.
my encouragement would be to just write, put words on the page, and you will get better, right? Learn the craft. That's going to happen over time.
I have another question for you. When
Of
did
course.
you feel like an author?
Oh,
When did that happen for you?
I'm still waiting. That would be, I don't know. There's always that next step of like, when I reach this milestone, yeah, I'll have made it. Or when I get this many readers or earn this much money, or when I finish book 30 of the series that I'm working on right now. It's one of those things where it always feels like it's that next level of attainment. So I would say nebulously, probably when I finished my 15 book series, I was like, okay, I completed the series. I
Oh,
did the thing I set out to do. Um, Unfortunately, I had already written a different 6 book series by the time I completed my 15 book series, because COVID hit all of us different, right?
it did.
Some
Hmm.
we need some projects. So yeah, I would say when I finished my 15 book series, that's when I felt like an author. It's like, okay,
Oh boy.
I've done
Okay.
the thing. I've done the thing.
Well, I'm
And
still waiting for that to hit me too. It's like
yeah,
I've written all of these books, but I'm not there yet. I have, I don't know. I don't know.
yeah,
Too many goals. Too many
I hear you.
goals. Yeah.
Oh, I hear you. Of
I've sure had fun. I want to share your Facebook page and your Amazon again with everybody, just so
course.
they know exactly where to find you.
Yeah.
So this is your Facebook page. I'm going to scroll back up here so
Yep.
everybody can see this. All you have to do is get on Facebook and search RG Long,
Hmm.
and this will come up. We've got quite a few followers, and particularly for those of you out there who are interested in writing and want to learn something, because I do think that you have some excellent information
Well, thank you.
on here for people, and you're very transparent. I love that, and people love to get to know the author. They like to know the person whose book they're reading. They want to feel that they know you in some way. So pretty cool. I like this
Thank you.
page.
Very kind.
Let's get out of here and let's see if we can't get over to this Amazon and share that. Give me just a second here.
Hmm.
Again, all you have to do is just search RG Long in Amazon, and there are an abundance of reading opportunities for anybody out there who likes fantasy. And there's a couple that I've kind of looked at that I think I'm interested in maybe getting
Now,
to.
hopefully, I keep you busy for a little while. That'll
Yeah,
start.
you know, I just don't have time to read all the things that I wish I had time for.
Oh, I
And
know. Oh, I know.
okay, oops. Well, I don't know how it got me there, but
Oh, we got, yeah,
there we
there's some,
go. Yeah, there's quite a few. You've got
colors.
quite a few on here.
Yeah.
Dragon and run. I love it. Love it. Love it. So we're going to leave these links in the description of this video. Let's stop this. And that way people will know how to find you and they'll be able to read your books, and hopefully they reach out to you and maybe you can help some new writers and
I would love to hear
them
from them. That'd be
started.
great.
Yeah, yeah. So one question I think is always on people's minds when they're starting out is, I think there's this misconception that
Okay.
people have about it doesn't happen for everybody. Some people write books and then they don't sell as many as they thought they were going to. But people have this idea that you write a book and suddenly you're this famous author, you've made millions of dollars and you're living the high life. They sort of put authors up right up there with athletes and pop stars, right?
Right, right,
And
right.
so and we're not, we're just regular everyday people. And so some of that can be a little bit of a disillusionment when you first
Mhm.
write a book and you get it out there and then you realize, oh, I actually have to market this thing. And you don't just put it out on Amazon and suddenly sell a million
Absolutely.
books. It might happen for somebody, for that rare
Sure.
few, but the majority of people that doesn't happen. What was that like for you? When you first put your book out there, did you have any dreams or fantasies of how many you were going to sell? And did you match those dreams and fantasies, or were you sort of crushed by that?
My first book sold fine until reviews started coming in saying this guy needs an editor. And so that was kind of like, okay, well, I'll just keep working on this. And I just kept writing. And it was actually after I had written book six, that I reached out, like we had talked about, to my community of authors and was just like, hey, I feel like I've got a good book. I feel like things are fine, but for some reason I'm not getting sales, and it's kind of frustrating. And at this point I had been writing for, let's see, 2013. This was about 2015, 2016. I've written 6 books in that time. And I reached out to a community of authors, people who had been experienced, who knew a little bit, who could understand. And that's when I had that conversation with, actually, it was a group of authors who said, well, your covers are missing the mark. Your description could use some help. And I really think you actually, if you're, I was doing some weird thing where one was standalone series and another was another 3-book standalone series, kind of like old school Dragonlance. And they're like, just link them. If they're the same series, just link them together.
Just
Like
put it
that actually
together.
worked. Yeah. And I actually took the books down. I made a total rebrand, redid all the covers, renamed all the books. And then by this point, I had been in the author community for long enough that I knew a lot of authors who had their own email lists and said, "Hey, can we do a launch? Can you help me out with this? I'm gonna launch these books, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6." And at that point, even I had written 7, 8, 9. I said, can we launch all these books all together, so that they all hit about the same time, and then the new books 7, 8, 9 also go live. Um, and honestly, that after about 6 years of writing, then that process, knowing lots of authors, making concerted marketing effort with email lists, spanning over a 2-week period where there was one author emailing every single day for my books in the new series. That was when I began to actually see some results that were, oh, like this is kind of blowing my mind a little bit right here. Um, Now, hey, authors, hear me. That success has been up and down, right? And so there have been some really great months. There have been some months that were like, oh, am I good? Like, am I good? Do people like me anymore?
Yeah.
And that's just because it's life and it's great. And so yeah, that was when I would say that things have been really great. And I would say, yeah, I saw some success, but that was concerted, very focused marketing of completed books.
And
Right?
did you pay anybody?
Oh, I
I
paid in
tell
friendship.
people not to pay people to market,
Yeah, no,
that that
I
you
paid
can
in
do
friendship
this
for sure.
yourself. And more than likely, most of the people, now I have paid, and it wasn't a scam or anything like that. I paid not so much for them to take my book and go market it themselves, but for advice on marketing
Yeah.
is, and to kind of get my foot in the door with some things. But more than likely, if somebody's saying, hey, if you pay me, I'll market your book, it's probably a scam.
Yeah.
So I
My,
always tell people, you can do this yourself. You don't need somebody else doing it for you.
if you're a brand new author who has an email list, which I highly suggest that you have an email list and that you email readers on a regular basis, it keeps you accountable and it lets those readers know you're not dead. Um, I would say begin with mentioning books that you love from authors in your genre that are similar to yours. Mention them in your email, market their books for them, and then forward that email to them and say, "Hey, just want to let you know I mentioned your book. Send it out to my readers. Hope you get a couple. Hope you get a couple clicks."
Hmm. Great
Don't ask.
advice.
Don't ask
Yeah.
for anything. Just say, "Hey, send out your books to my readers." Establish that rapport with authors, and maybe, not guaranteed, maybe they would say, "Oh, hey, yeah, I also email. Can I email a book out for you? That's great." Or if anything, you're establishing goodwill with other authors out there, which is a really good thing to do.
Yes, it really is. It is. Oh man, such good advice. You have wonderful advice. I have appreciated you so much today. You've been very helpful to our listeners. I really do appreciate that. Um, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and leave the link to everything in the description
Right.
so people can find you. They'll find you on Facebook. They can get some advice from you, and also on Amazon. And it's okay. It sounds like it's okay if they email you if they have questions. Is that right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, email away.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. And make sure that you are reading these books because they're I'm kind of
There's,
excited to read a couple of them myself. I was kind of perusing that and thinking, I might be interested in that.
oh,
So you'll
excellent.
want to
Yeah, they're
search,
good.
you'll want to search RG Long on
Mhm.
Amazon to get those. And yeah, just enjoy every minute of it. I'm
Excellent.
so glad that you were with us today. I appreciate it. Um, any last parting words? Because I think we're kind of running out of time here.
Well, Laura, just thank you so much for having me on. It's great that you are promoting indie authors and wanting to give voice to those who are self-published. It's been a blast. I absolutely love and enjoy the writing, and I hope that everyone listening here is enjoying the writing for themselves too, because
I
that's
hope
what
so
makes it
too.
fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ronald, for being on today.
Well,
Love
thank you
it.
for having me, Laura.
Appreciate it. So, listen, if you are thinking about writing a book and you're not sure where to start, just do it. Just start writing. Get your words out on paper, and you can write a book. Even
Yeah.
you can write a book. So, well, I thank you for being with us today. I hope that you have a wonderful day. God bless you.